whopping 82% of you guys that are viewers aren't subscribers. Do me a big favour and please hit that subscribe button. It will really help the channel out. Here's a little plate that I made up from a bit of aluminium that I had lying around. Just drilled 2 holes for the where it's going to mount on the engine, and 2 holes for the mounting holes there. The kit supplies screws for the vacuum box, but I've ordered some M6 bolts here to go onto the engine. So I'm just going to mount this for here. These bloody bolts are slippery as anything. Can't seem to keep hold of them.
Yeah, I'm about to fade away, cause every time I wake up I feel like.
And I could leave these on there like that, but I think that looks quite ugly, so I'm just going to trim that down. And that is it done. These 2 bolts are much shorter now, and won't look like an eyesore. Just bolt that to the side of the engine now, and we'll have our vacuum ports at the bottom. And that will come from the intake manifold. There you go. That's all bolted on there now. And I'll sell the engine like that. This side will be done up as it is, blanked off.
I know you told your friend you're not okay, and tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way.
And that's that piece done. I put one closer to, this will be the closest towards the front of the car. I put one there because I think that's where I'm going to run the diverter valve, sort of near where the throttle body is. So I put one there, but like I say, you know, like as you can see, we can change that anyway. So that's it done. A little bit of lube. Right then guys, so we're going to tackle the clearance issue with the upper radiator hose. It basically hits the nut that goes on top of here, and probably about 1.5 centimetres to 2 centimetres of this part here. So one of the Facebook group members suggested that I cut this off here and up here, and basically shorten the length of this part here. And just so luckily I've actually just gone and bought a load of M6 nuts and bolts, because this will run out of thread on this. So it just so happens I bought that, not for this but something else, and I can use it for here. So I'm just going to get the grinder, I'm going to slice into this and then slice down and see how we get on. So what I'm using here is a mill piece. So it's a carbide mill piece to just put on the end of a drill. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill down into the bolt hole to get where we want to, and then I'll get the grinder and I'll just grind it flat then. There we have it guys, shortened, so we'll see how that fits. It's not the best job in the world, but we'll certainly see how it fits, and if we need to make any changes we can. I notice it's not sitting too flat, so I'll just clean that up I think. All I'm doing here is getting the original washer from the original bolt and making it a little bit wider to fit my new M6 bolts. And would you look at that clearance? It's a little bit tight on there, but it's actually not hitting anywhere now. So absolutely perfect. Thank you very much to the guy on Facebook that recommended I do this. So guys, before you put your throttle body on and your inlet manifold, go ahead and change the coolant temperature sensor because you will not get access to it after the fact.
Wake up, I feel like it's Monday. Something's going wrong with all the chemicals up in my brain. All of a sudden I don't look at anything the same way. Gotta build up of my thoughts sitting in an ashtray. I'm sorry that I'm so inconvenient, okay.
So I've turned mine sort of like 90 degrees so that the plug doesn't hit the throttle body so much, and then we just got to carefully put the clip in. And just before you comment down saying I haven't fitted the pipe for the inlet, there we have it. We have plenty of clearance now for that pipe. It's not rubbing, it's not pinched. And here we have it. Just got the new TIG welder and stick welder through, and just making progress on stick welding the turbo manifold. I've done one side. I'm just about to do the other side. I did the one side last night. So just preheating the turbo manifold in the oven at the moment. So once that's up to temperature, I'll bring it out here and I'll show you what I do to stick weld it. So the sticks that I've got to stick weld it are nickel ferrule rods, which don't shrink as much, which means that the welds won't crack on a cast iron, because that's the biggest problem with cast iron, is the fact that welds crack. So I've done one, looks absolutely fine. Not the best job, it's quite messy. I mean, it's the first time stick welding, but the most important thing is that it seals and it doesn't crack when it shrinks back down to normal temperature. So, and that's a lot to do with the nickel content in the rod, and also the preheat treatment as well. So guys, I don't know if you can hear me over the fan of the welder. I've preheated this in the oven for about half an hour at 250 degrees, so Celsius, so it will be... Just want to explain a little bit about what I'm doing here. I'm tacking little bits at a time, no more than sort of a centimetre at a time, and then I'm peening the welds with the claw hammer. That's all I had at the time, and then cleaning that up with a wire brush before I continue.
I guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until...
That's both of them done now. They aren't the prettiest welds in the world, but they certainly look solid. It's the first time ever I've done stick welding. This will be the last time as well. I'm only stick welding this rather than TIG welding it because of the nickel ferrule rods. So in the first episode of this turbo build, some of you may remember the issue that I had with the wastegate adapter that I had, it being too small and also too fat on the V-band. So my good friend Chris, he is turning down the flange. Chris is currently converting his Land Rover to EV, so I'll link his Instagram below and you can check out his progress through there. So I'm just taking the sump off to change the bearings and for the ARP rod bolts. One thing that you will need is a very long M8 triple square splined tool bit to get up in between the gearbox. There's three bolts there. That unless you've got a long one, I say this is about 6 inches long, then you ain't getting that out. So make sure you get one of these. I'll leave it in the spreadsheet.
Perfect.
So you see that little groove indentation there? Well, you need to make sure that you line that up with each bolt that you untake. One there, one there, one there. So you need to rotate the engine so that lines up, because otherwise you can't get the bit past there. So I've just taken the rod cap off, rod bearing cap off from here, and I'll go through these on the bench in a second, but the wear and tear is absolutely nothing for a 100,000 mile motor. So I've got the new bearings here. These are Glyco bearings. These are recommended by Vince at Stealth Racing. They used to fit the ACL or the King Racing bearings, but they found that if the engine's in situ like this and you're not building it on a stand, and where everything's been cleaned and pressure washed and, you know, sparkling clean, if you're using the ACL or, you know, the hardened bearings, and you get a bit of grit or something that's not quite clean on the face, what you'll end up doing is ruining the bearing. So these are the OE style ones, Glyco branded, and they'll be a little bit more forgiving to bits of dirt and contamination and stuff just generally in the oil. So that's what I've gone with. Just got a little bit of brake cleaner. Just gonna clean the surface up here as best I can, and also the we're going to fit them in place. Just going to give them a quick clean, a brake cleaner each side. We put them in place, and then we've got some plastic gauge just to measure the clearances. So it's a little bit fiddly. The battery's running out. It's a little bit fiddly, but as long as it fits in there nicely and in the bearing sits in that groove, it should be okay. And we're just going to slide the piston back down over the journal like that. Then we get our cap, give it a bit of a clean, like so. And then we've got our plastic gauge here. So this is going to be a little bit cumbersome, but I've got a green plastic gauge here. I'm just going to take a little bit and measure the clearances, because the last thing we want is our clearances to be way off. So it's literally just the tiniest bit of, get it on camera, bit of plastic. I'm just gonna drop it onto our rod like that. So with ARP rod bolts, just make sure that you've lubed the threads and the hat in the top bit with the lube provided. Okay, and then so that's 20 foot-pounds. So I don't have a stretch gauge for the bolt, so the instructions say just do it to 40 foot-pounds. I'm going to do it to 43 foot-pounds. Other people that have fitted these bolts have found that between 40 and 45 have had the desired stretch, so I'm going to go 43. That is our stretch. I'm just going to use our stretch gauge to see how much we have there. So I'll say we have 0.38. So I think as long as it's anywhere between 0.25 and 0.70, we're okay. So that tells me that we are running 0.38, and that's not too bad. It's quite a tightish tolerance. So I've done that now, clean off the plastic gauge, and then lube the bearings up so that they're fine on first start. So just push the rod back up. So I get access to the bearing, because I want to put some of this engine lubricant. So you only need the dab, strap a bit on your finger, and stringy as hell to make sure it doesn't fall on your face when you're laying down. It's just gone all over my glasses, and it's horrible stuff as well. So it's going to be all over my face. So just yeah, don't need to go mad. Just needs a little bit on the bearing faces. Not very easy when you're upside down doing this, so just do what you can.
This way, I really hope that you will choose to stay through all the pain.
Okay, so that's all lubed up. Then we're just going to get the rod and pull it back down. Top of the crank, like so. And do exactly what you just did a second ago. So one thing I'm going to recommend, guys, is actually mark the side with a paint pen on each side that's closest to the crank. Then you know which way these caps go back on, because they have to go back on the same way.
My mind overwhelms. I think that I'm broken, but I hope you can't help. I know I'm not perfect.
That's a 43 foot-pounds. And then when you're done, just give yourself a mark to say it's been done. Simple as that, guys. So I'm going to do the rest. And one thing after each time you go round, it's probably a good idea just to check that everything still spins freely. Yeah, I feel no binding there at all. Smooth as silk. Look at the state of the place. Who'd ever thought changing bearings would be so bloody messy? And that is all of them done. Took me a couple of hours, but got there in the end. And they're all done. Next step, I'm just going to get a blade, clean up the silicone around the edge here, and drill the port for the oil return from the turbo. Get this back together, fill it with oil.
Tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. Guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to.
So hopefully you can see on there, there's a dirty line where the oil doesn't get to. So this sits just above the dirty line, so there'll be free flowing of oil. So what I've done is I've just applied a little layer of sealant this side. Because it's not quite flat, I don't know how well it's gonna seal. So I thought I'd put a bit of sealant both sides and hope for the best. And if it leaks, I'll JB weld it.
You wanna love me? Well then baby I have a taste. All the highs and the lows, no you'll never be the same. I don't really wanna hurt you, but I can't control the pain.
Yep, so just put some serious pressure onto that. And to stop the nut from coming loose, I'm just going to tack it on the sort of inside so it doesn't come loose.
I know you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong.
So then to fit the, in order to fit the sump plug, so in order to fit the return, the bolt there will hit the plastic baffle. So I've had to just chop a section of here and then I'll leave this bit empty, and then it slots in there like that. I don't think it's going to make a huge deal. So then guys, I have scraped this with a razor blade. I have roughed it down with a Scotch-Brite and some WD-40, and the same for the block as well. So I'm going to apply a thin layer of RTV around here and get the sump back on. This place is getting a mess. I need to stop and do some cleaning.
Like I'm fine, but I know you can't tell. Like nothing I found, my mind overwhelms. I think that I'm broken, but I hope you can't help.
There we go guys. I'm ready to go back on. There's the drain. Ready to go back on. So that's the sump back on now guys. It's just the reverse of the removal. Got my 10AN line there. Got plenty of clearance here on the drive shaft because we're on stands now, so that's as low as the shaft will ever be. We've got plenty of clearance there. So yeah, that's that bit all done. Rod, bearings and sump done. So here's the bearings closer up. As you can see, absolute minimal surface wear. So I would say that that's a healthy engine. Sorry guys, I know you're going to kill me for this, but I'm going to have to split the videos up. This video is getting too long and I've got a lot more content to come, so I'm going to split the two videos up and have this video, and then the next video will be getting the car ready to start and starting it. But just as a teaser, I will leave a little clip at the end of the car running and starting, so hopefully that'll get you excited for the next episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and leave any comments down below.